Hi everybody, we're back with more Gundam Card Game content. First of all, some announcements. I finally made it to 100 subs, so thank you everybody for your continued support. I try my best to live up to your expectations and give you more Gundam Card Game content. So, this edition of the Goose is Loose podcast, a podcast about talking about Gundam, will probably be a little bit shorter than usual because right now, at the time of this recording, there is a heat advisory where I am, and there is no indoor AC where I live. So, it's going on, just fumes and tiny fans. Anyways, this time we're gonna be looking at TCG Top Deck. Shout out to them about their deck lists from other parts of the world. Because I think maybe here in North America, I don't believe there are any big tournaments yet. I think the new type challenge is happening next month, so at least be on the lookout for that in your locals if you're able to sign up. I tried signing up, and I think I should be good. I think there's like 64 players. I will try my absolute best to do well there, but obviously I have other obligations in life to worry more about. Because at the end of the day, this is just entertainment. It's just a hobby. It's not, something that is that big part of like significantly affecting my life right for now. You can somehow make extreme money off this. Why not, right? But we're gonna look at this first deck list. I think it's Ariel and Freedom. Ariel, especially with Soletta, I think is sort of low key not super duper utilized yet. Given Academy, I think there was a topping deck list recently where they just played like control, and the biggest unit they had was like the normie Ariel, who had like -2 cost, so you can deploy that and then use your command cards to activate stuff in conjunction with that. But this is more of a essentially replacing Unicorn, right, with Aerial Rebuilds. Because you don't know what Aerial Rebuild does, for those of you who are just listening. Aerial Rebuild, when paired, choose one command card that's level 5 or lower from your trash, add it to your hand. So you're able to like recycle upon getting this paired. So typical targets would be like, your unforeseen incidents, so you can get like -3. And then Striker Pack, of course, because that means you can deploy blocker tokens. And that's also really good. But otherwise, I personally feel, personally, my opinion, right? Just from experience, I'm not a big fan of playing Soletta at all. Because for most part, I think command cards, nothing at the moment is like so super duper broken where it can easily turn the tide of a game. Like for example, if you're playing, let's say Ariel, and then you play Soletta and you add back the one drop, like I don't know, overflowing affection or something, you draw 2. At that point, what really did you do to advance your turn? It's more like setting up for next turn, right? And for Aerial Rebuild to be like a level 6, I just think playing Unicorn is much better because, in my opinion, it, Gundam meta right now is like a rock paper scissors format, or like for example, green and white wing 0 will probably beat Unicorn blockers over the long term, right? But it dies like aggressive, and this deck will probably beat something that's aggressive, and then so forth and stuff like that. So it's like rock paper scissors, right? Where your worst matchup would be wing 0, and then I mean Gundam Aerial Rebuild, is it as good as Unicorn? Unicorn's able to rest stuff. You also get the double draw from good old Banerjee, and then also with the Unicorn. Remember that? Because you can summon Unicorn, Normie Unicorn, and then you do link with the Banerjee. That gives you a draw, you attack, you destroy that with Unicorn Gundam, because remember it's a level 7, you have normal Unicorn, you can get destroyable basically at level 5 or whatever it is, and then draw an additional one, because then you're able to link it again. So I think that's a better overall draw engine and game plan than just like playing Aerial Rebuild. But that's just my opinion. I think if you want to use Aerial Rebuild in some kind of focus deck, then you should probably build your entire deck around that and try to like play a control variant overall, right? Because I understand Soletta, she's so good in the sense that she's able to give you extra resources, right? And I don't know, I just think there's something also there. I feel like I'm trying to cook up personally too, where you can use Soletta with Tall Geese. And remember, Tall Geese, if you don't know what the effect does, it's allowed you to, if you spend 4 resources, you can attack twice essentially. Like you can use your 4 resources to unrest it. But then if you use Soletta, remember that she's able to set one of your resources as active, so then you can like double attack essentially for like way less, or triple attack if you're at that point. So there's that. Otherwise, this deck list, for those of you just listening to playing, basically what you would expect from Freedom blockers, but they're just playing 4 of Aerial Rebuild instead of the usual like Unicorn package. and playing Soletta instead of Banerjee, and then also, you know, Striker Pack, which I don't see too often anyways, but if you're going to play Aerial Rebuild, that's probably the way to go. This was from Indonesia. They got first place. They won 4-0. I don't know how good, obviously, their matchups were. This is just looking at deck lists overall, but, I mean, something to look out for, right? Especially when there's more support coming out, because remember, they're going to have, like, freaking the other Gundam, whatever it's called, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna have oh my god, now I'm blanking on my G-Witch stuff, but it's like you know what I'm talking about. Let me look it up. I'm actually Gundam Witch from Mercury mobile suits. Like, you have the twins, right? The people from Earth. Spoiler. Well, not really spoiler. Who cares, right? You got the, yeah, what's it called? The Calibarn. There you go. Calibarn. That's going to be a card probably that's really good. I hope. I expect. You're going to have, what, the Schwarzet, right? That's another baller-ass kit. That reminds me a lot of the Darrow Bald. So there you go. When those cards get released, eventually if the game makes it that long, hopefully, it should, hopefully, then Soletta obviously going to be, like, busted. Because then you're going to have to be able to get the resources. And then your game plan of Air Rebuild, being able to add back command cards, and you have more command cards, that's going to be even better. Because, I don't know, I feel like level 6, I feel like they tried to balance this card way too much, right? Level 6, level 6, there are way better level 5s, right? And under, like, for example, good old Grandpa Gundam's level 4. Good old Ailstrike is level 5. Like, I can take this out easily. In my opinion. I feel like level 6 is way too much. If they moved this to like level 5, maybe it's too broken, but I think a nice sweet spot should have been level 5. But they obviously put Aerial at level 5 for some reason. Yeah, because maybe they didn't want to make Soletta broken. But that's just my opinion. So that's one deck list. I'll look at the next interesting deck list that I saw. There's another prominent one that's starting to get popularity. I know for sure around here and, like, you know, North America and those parts, is combining Shenlong and then using the rest ability for good old Aggro, right? In this deck list, they're playing the usual blue-green, like, swarm variants, right? So you got your gun cannon, GM, your Rozelles, etc. But then you're also playing Jagan, which I don't see too often here in the States, where you don't know what effect does. Is while you have 2 or more Earth Federation units in play, this card in your hand costs -1 to play. So you can play 2 for 1 essentially if you have other Earth Federation units, which at that point you probably should, right? Considering it's like a level 3. And essentially the goal of the deck is to play aggressively by resting stuff with Amuro, of course, and then you also have Shenlong, which is able to do Breach 3, excuse me. I know the other one does Breach 4, right? Yeah, big Shenlong that's level 5, is able to do Breach 4, and then you can also attack a enemy unit with blocker that's level 3 or lower to destroy it. That's also really good, obviously, and then when it attacks and destroys something, then it's able to do Breach to the shield, especially. And so you kind of build your entire deck around that. And then, considering the most highest level unit you have anyways, like a level 4, level 5 really, you can try to swarm your opponent and start like bopping them left and right. I think this deck will probably be obviously a good counter in between for like an aggro deck and also like a deck like blockers, essentially, right? Because early game, if you get bopped by Shenlong and those kind of breach units, then you're probably going to get screwed. Because your blocker at that point doesn't really do anything, right? Because the intent of the block is protect your shield, but you can't protect your shield with the breach. So that's even another harder challenge that you have to like navigate around. But I think to counter this kind of deal, then obviously you have to just play your control cards a lot more effectively, and then maybe try not to block too much, or like unrest your blockers if you can, right? That's the only way I can really think of it. Like, you try to use Archangel to unrest units, so then if they're not rested, they can't attack it, right? Because the only one that can attack and destroy, like, I guess a unit straight up is just big Shenlong. But that's another deck that's getting a lot of prominent, so be on the lookout for that around your locals. That's really something else I'm also looking around too, because Amuro obviously is the best, in my opinion, best blue pilot unit, because it's able to just rest almost every unit at that stage. And then Shang Wufei, right, the other pilot card, is not too important, but the other part is that it's not able to get battle damage for enemy units with 3 or less AP. So most of the time, AP, right? Nothing I think that's a blocker in the early stages, like your Lefrith, your Zorwards, any other blockers I can think of on top of my head. But those popular blockers, none of them are like, you know, level 3 or 3 AP or higher. The only one I can think of is Zorward, right? Zorward's 3-2. Lefrith is 2-4, so you're not gonna take damage from the unit with Shang, so that's another natural counter. So your meta's playing a lot of blockers, I guess this is the way to go too. That's another option. And I think it's probably a better option overall than playing like red, blue, ping, which in my opinion now it's getting a lot less popular because people are starting to counter it by just playing a little bit more like off tempo in the sense of like late game. If you're able to like clear the low level units, then you're good, right? I don't know. Well, it's interesting, right? This meta for Gundam Card Game. Shout out to them. And then finally, another interesting one I saw is Kshatryia and Justice. Nobody really plays Zaf around my neck of the woods, so excuse me if I don't have too much experience with Zaf. I know for Zaf that the ideas of it I think is good. Like, obviously Aegis Gundam, being able to attack something that is in attack mode, right? With Atherin, and then being able to breach. I think that's really good. Because then that kind of circumvents blockers to regardless, and then you can just attack whatever you want. But then, personally, I don't really see super synergy between just playing Kshatryia and also the Zaft units, right? Like I don't see the synergy here. I think they're just doing it for just because, you know, Marita best girl, and then I guess they have a lot of nostalgia for Justice Gundam and stuff like that. Because in my opinion, right, wouldn't you want to play more command cards in that sense instead of just playing ping damage? Because I know for Zaf, since I played against it once at locals, just one time, because that person I played against, like, they really liked Gundam Seed, and they didn't want to be like a meta goober, right, and play like blue white freedom blockers, so they just play Zaf instead. And like a lot of Zaf units have support as like their gimmick. So for example, the Xeno, which I think is super underrated as well, be on the lookout for that video. It's top 7 underrated cards of Gundam Card Game so far. But Xeno, if you don't know what it does, is that during your turn, as units battling an enemy unit that is level 2 or lower against First Strike. First Strike is one of the most broken powers or abilities in the game. That's what makes Death Sight so good, because it's able to just attack and like not take damage. And if you don't take damage, it's gonna last another turn, hopefully. And also, Xeno has a Zaf trait, so that means you can put After on it, and then that becomes like a 3/3, which is able to like tank almost everything at that point, right? Because it's able to at least take the damage and then hopefully survive a turn with like another blocker, so you can block it and then you just do more damage there. So that's how you play with the Xeno. That's a really underrated card. I think it's so good. If you can play it, maybe try to figure out how to play it, but I don't like Zaf. I don't like Gundam Seed. There, I said it. I don't like Gundam Seed. No, that's not true. I love the Freedom, and I love the Astray Red Frame. That is the bee's knees. I know I've shown it multiple times, but I just recently built the Perfect Grade Astray. So, pretty sick, y'all. I would move it, but I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared, a little baby. Anyways, so this deck list, you're playing 4 Xeno, 4 Lefrith, right? Kshatryia, Launch Strike Gundam, Normie Strike Gundam, your Ale Strike, your Kshatryia, Big Boy Kshatryia, your Justice Gundam, where it's deployed, it makes a token. So, I mean, I see the idea of it, right? Like, it's able to get another body, and if it's paired, it's able to get that thing to attack immediately. But at the same time, like, being a 7/5 drop, like, isn't Freedom Gundam like better? Like, Kira plus Freedom Gundam versus this, like, you can take this out, essentially, right? I think Kira's the best unit, best white card pilot in the game, because it's just a -2, so you take no damage. That means your Freedom and your other Gundams that you link or pair with it is going to take no damage. That's so good. So, I mean, for them to play 2, I don't really get it, right? After Zala, same thing, where it's able to attack non-rested units and like active units. I think that's pretty cool as a gimmick itself. I'm sure there's synergy out there with like Breach and maybe this thing, but then if you want to play Athens Zala or Shenlong Breach, right, you would just play Blue, because Blue has Amuro and Amuro is able to arrest units. So, you know, I don't really understand this deck. Please let me know. I'm not trying to poo-poo this, but If you can figure out why they're playing Justice, aside from just like Justice Kshatryia, aside from just like I like Marita and like the cards, then please let me know. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I really don't. Um, I can just see the synergy from just being like you attack with your Atherans to units that are not rested, and then you block their units, and then you try to ping them with Kshatriya. Is that the idea? That's the idea, right? Um, yeah. So those are the 3 deck lists for this week that I found interesting. Hopefully you found them interesting too. If you want to look at the deck list, then I'll show them in the links, of course. And then now we'll go on to the next section, which is announcements. Oh boy, if you can't see this because you're listening, but booster packs have been spotted in the wild at your local big box retailers. This homie right here had like the entire stack, so you know, RIP. Maybe they bought out the entire thing. So maybe don't even bother. Don't even bother looking. By the time you look, it's too late. Allegedly, from places I've seen, this is happening in the Midwest, where I live on the west side. None of this has been seen yet. I know around my local places, they usually try to restock on Thursday, Wednesday. But, you know, is it worth checking, driving out of your way to go find it? I don't know. People do Pokemon scalping. I've always been trying to scalp Gundam Card Game. That's why you see booster boxes at like $200 still, even today. But once the fad of it, I think, dies down, they realize they can't move stock, then all this is going to be like readily available. But to be fair, I've never seen like One Piece loose booster packs seen at like your local big box stores, like, at all. I've seen starter decks. I think that's easier to get than like a booster pack. But One Piece boosters, I've never seen it like ever around where I live, and I try to like look at it pretty regularly. I've never seen it. I don't know. I live around Scalper City. So how is that? Why is this relevant? Why does this matter? People, in my opinion, think that if there's more stock, there's going to be more easier accessibility for people to play, which of course is the idea. Want the game to be cheaper, but really looking at prices, no, not a Marketwatch. Not the Marketwatch. We're not doing Marketwatch. It's not financial advice, by the way. No financial advice. Do we see any movement in terms of cards going up or down? If you saw last week's video, you'll notice that certain cards have fluctuated more or less, but some cards just stay the same. Remember back then, I think this card was like, I don't know, $600 or something. It's now the lowest at $750. Has anyone actually bought this card? Wow. Some people actually bought this card at $800. I feel it's fake news. If you have $800 lying around, is it really worth it to just get a Gundam Air Review build to slab it up? Like, anybody who buys an $800 card, I feel at that point you're trying to like invest it and then hopefully try to flip it for like, you know, good money, realistically, right? Because if you're playing the game, then no way in hell would you really try to play this card anyways, right? So unless you're like a baller, right? But then Area Rebuild is not even like, I think, a meta card at the moment. So I don't know. Maybe it's just cool art, one of a kind thing. People are trying to think this is like a Charizard from like Pokemon. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna retain too much value. If I have to get like a card and you want to slab it, why not Rampa Gundam, right? That's the face card. That's like the card to get to slab, right? Because that's the mascot of the entire series. Is arguably more recognizable than Ariel. And it's like the first card in the game. Sure, this one's more rare, but who says that, right? No, I'm just kidding. I think they're both technically supposed to be like equally rare. But people choose to make this one more expensive when honestly, in my opinion, this one should be more expensive. This one's somewhat like, you know, it's like a cover card. Ariel, not really. In terms of other alt art stuff, like I said, I think for the most part they're gonna retain value over time. Like we saw Marita. I managed to get mine like 60-ish, making trades, doing deals, right? Thank you, Mr. eBay. But now we see they're like $67, give or take, plus tax. So that's gonna be like, I don't know, $70, $69 at that point. Shout out, nice, 69. Other cars we see going up in stocks. I think good old Def Side, I think, took a dip. I remember that being like 90, right? Yeah. Let's do 1 month. So earlier this week, it's like an $87 card. Now it's down to like $73. What's happening? Well, I think because meta shifted, right? Green white, not as popular anymore. People's trying to play like cheaper decks. Why bother holding on to like an expensive ass alt art that maybe you don't play anyways and just try to flip it for more money. Like you can probably get a deck out of like $72, right? In my opinion. Same thing with Char's Gelgu, good old alt art. I think that's maintaining value. All alt arts will probably maintain value or increase as time goes on. So if you want to get alt arts, I think now I would not blame you if you decided to buy it now. Certain alt arts, I'm like, nah, you really need it, you know. Like for meta cards, I think sometimes buying art and stuff like that, like I get collector, you do use your money, right? But you got rent, you got things more important to worry about, then you should probably pay for that. Here we see Death Side. Wow, Death Side went down to $22, $20. You can buy it right now. $20. You can get your playset for $80, right? That's a lot of money. But remember, like last week, it was like a $30 card. Look, boop, boop, boop. Everything's crashing. Is it due to this? No, I don't think it's due to this. I think it's just people who wanted to buy the card game at this point have already bought in. People who are waiting for prices to drop will probably wait until like maybe need the next set so they can but then the next set's gonna come out. Most of these cards are gonna be garbage, right? No, I'm just kidding. But when new meta comes out, people want the new cards. Like if I was trying to get into this game somehow just from scratch, like I wasn't aware of any of this, I would just wait until like a couple weeks, like near definitely when this is more prominent, and then also like around the time when the new set comes out, right? At that point, I feel people want to play the game, already played it. People say this game is cringe, dumb. I'm gonna go back and play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm probably doing that already. So if you want to get non-alt art cards, I think now is an appropriate time to do it, right? I absolutely think it's the appropriate time to do it. Because look at Wing Zero. Wing Zero was like $30 card. Now it's down to actually $20. No joke. That's like what? Quick maths. That's like a 30% drop right there. That's crazy. Remember those when this game just came out? Everybody wanted to play the game. Hype. You were trying to make their decks. Now people got their decks settled. They like this deck. I don't really care about playing other decks. I don't want to buy it. There's a lot of supply, no demand. Look at this, Freedom Gundam. 113 listings. That's crazy. Lowest is like 1778. Remember a month, like earlier this month, it was like a $40 card. Now it's like nobody wants it. Same thing with Wing Zero. There's so much product. So much product. It doesn't make sense for you to like actually buy a booster box at this point, right? People want to bet. People who wanted stuff from the booster packs have probably already got it. Like nothing is too crazy, I think, topping out. Things are obviously on the little down low. I don't even think Gundam Card Game is that kind of game where like somebody breaks out with a certain deck, like all of a sudden there's gonna be buyouts. There's too much, right? Look at this. Unicorn Gundam. Yeah, it's only 61 listings, but still. Lowest is like 18. I managed to get mine around like 12, 15 bucks. And even then I think I'm just getting scammed for that, right? Because nobody plays it. Like everybody wanted a deck, they already got the deck. That's crazy. Like collector market people are trying to like do alt arts, which I appreciate. That makes the rest of the game more affordable. I think generically the most expensive card right now, that if you want to play a certain deck, is probably Kshatryia, or maybe even Death Side, right? Kshatryia, because it's a 4-up, you can play in like any kind of red deck. Right now it's kind of maintaining value. Let's say $25, $24, right? Death Side's gonna plunge because I think maybe people think the card is too expensive because you need 4 of those, and also you need 4 Wing Zero. It's too much money. Why would I play that when I just play like 4 Kshatryia and the rest of it are just like easy peasy units, right? Cheapo units. Like the only thing nowadays I feel expensive is just the starter decks. Let's look at that. I don't really want to count beta cards. Beta cards don't count because most people, including me, who's like a huge fan, I tried really hard to get beta. No. Could not get beta. Let's look at starter decks. Gundam C, Gundam Wing, blah blah blah. Alright, so we go. You're gonna play the card for the starter decks. Obviously all arts and shiny cards are expensive. I get that. You only get 1 pull per deck. Encourages you to buy multiples, but then people are still trying to sell bricks for like, you know, $15, $20, which is ridiculous. Obviously, they're going to reprint those starter decks to the ground, gang. Don't worry about that. Do not feel so bad. I think this most expensive starter deck has to be blue, right? Yeah, because like that's the most meta. Let's see. Lowest listing $29. Let me guess. Just a brick? There we go. Brick only, gang. Well, if you want just a brick, you got 3 of them for $34. That's crazy. It's crazy. Just wait. Just wait. Play decks. I think you can try to build a deck out from the booster pack, but obviously it's gonna be way harder. I don't know, Gundam card game, right? Things are so expensive. How much is a booster pack? Let's see. Or booster box. Are they crashed? No, they haven't crashed. No one. Under 75? Hey, remember those 200. Under 75, Hondo 75. Let's say quick maths, taxes. Maybe it's like 184, right? I don't think it's worth it. I can see these eventually going on like 150, because again, at this point, who's actually buying these? Everybody who wanted to buy the decks already bought it. Like even around locals, when people are trying to trade cards, everyone kind of already has everything they want. Like the only chase cards people are trying to look for is alt arts, but alt arts come like 2 a box. Do you really want to buy a box? Get the chance of getting it? Might as well just buy the 2 cards, because you're gonna get 2 cards anyways, right? From the booster box, and that's not like a guaranteed, because apparently, allegedly, it's mapped. Where if you get Marita, you're gonna get Wing Zero, the LRs. I don't know. Anyways, so my key takeaway for this week in terms of the Marketwatch, and then meta understandings and things that can affect the market. There's booster packs out in the wild. I think most people who want to get the cards already probably got it. Decks are settled at this point. People waiting for the next product release, which I believe comes out in September for the starter decks, right? For G-Cucks or whatever, G-Quacks. Everything is more or less settled. If you're not playing like alt art stuff, then I mean everything's relatively affordable. Thankfully, it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! We're like, oh, $1,000 deck. You don't believe me? Let's look. Let's see, $1,000 decks. Let's do Yu-Gi-Oh! Articles. Let's see if we can actually look for articles. I think it's decks. Let's look at decks. Let's look at latest advanced decks. YCS Vancouver, shout out Triff Gaming, $607. Oh, right? That is crazy. What's the average though? Doesn't count. Let's see another one. Vancouver Soul, $613. Right? Several hundred. Minimum like 300 and above. That's crazy, gang. That's crazy. I feel Gundam is nowhere near that. I think Gundam realistically is probably like $200. That's a lot of money. I'm saying that's a lot of money, but it's a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh money. No siree, dog. Really, you only need 2 starters, right? Of whatever color you want, and you round it out with a bunch of singles from the booster box, and then you're good. Look at these cards. They're like 10 cents, 15 cents. Aksha, that's like a 4 off, 3 off, and blue red ping, excuse me. What else is broken that maybe needs some money cards? Nothing, right? Everything's kind of affordable. Are any money cards? Like gun cannon? Oh wow, gun cannon, $4, $5 card. Sure. Need $4. That's 20 bucks. Other than that, I don't think anything super duper expensive. You want to fancy out and bling out your resources? Sure, you can. Anything else? Maritas? You want Marita? $6, right? That's about it. Yeah, everything else is kind of relatively affordable. So, yeah, if you're good with that, hopefully this has been interesting for you. So, you know, thank you for listening. I know I said this is going to be a shorter one, but ironically, it's probably around the same time. I think short in terms of actual meta content, but then in terms of just the market, it's always fun to look at the market, because then people try to like scam people out of money and try to buy out things and all of that stuff. But I think for the most part, market stabilized. You want to buy stuff, I wouldn't blame you for buying stuff. I don't think I need anything realistically. I don't want to be that guy and like, oh, I want multiple copies for multiple decks, but that's like a lot of money. You don't need to do that. That's dumb. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for 100 subs. See you guys around. Bye bye.